everybody, it's Kate and Katie from the Private Practice Startup, and we're here to share with you some tips for TAC. What is TAC? TAC is Technology Assisted Counseling, which covers online counseling, phone sessions, and all that good stuff. We want to share with you guys the best practices as well as the ethical updates so that you can remain covered when providing TAC.
And before we get into those tips, we want to assure that you have the appropriate paperwork that you need to provide technology-assisted counseling. So one, you want to make sure you have your HIPAA, and if you haven't gotten our HIPAA form for free, you can get that. Two, you want to make sure that you have your regular consent policies and agreements that covers everything in regards to your practice. And two, you want to have a TAC consent, or you might combine the both. Of course, you want to do your biopsych, your treatment plan, and all that, but those are the essentials.
So let's dive right in. Tip number one, you want to make sure that you're very clear on your confidentiality and privacy statements. So you have very similar laws about the importance of reporting or being mandated as reporters. And also with TAC, there's an additional challenge of privacy. You want to make sure as a therapist that you're not providing therapy sessions while in Starbucks, right? You want to be in a very private environment, and it's best to use headphones as the therapist and the client as well, because you don't want maybe the client's calling you, from work, and you don't want their colleagues to hear. So those are the important things for tip number one.
Tip number two, we're going to talk about some risks and benefits. So with TAC actually brings greater benefits to serving more people. So as long as you are actually licensed in the state where your client sits, you can provide online counseling, phone sessions, and things like that. So you can actually reach a larger audience and network, providing more services and more support and making a difference. So that's a definite benefit.
Yeah.
The other thing too is some clients are homebound for various reasons, maybe for illness, maybe disability, maybe you're working with a new mom and she's just not ready to leave her house. So you can actually reach people at a greater distance, providing better service. Not to mention, it can be even more convenient for you as well as your client. Some of the risks with TAC, though, of course, are, emergencies. You want to make sure that you actually do an assessment first with your client before providing TAC, because you want to make sure that they're not in imminent danger or risk or other things that you need to address. Some other risks include, how does your client manage technology? Is he or she a candidate of using technology so you guys can have the best sessions?
Yeah, so tip number three after that would be really the logistics. You want to talk about how to have the best possible quality TAC experience, both on your end and their end, how you're going to handle potential tech issues that might happen. You also want to be clear about who's contacting who and how, and if you get disconnected, who's going to contact who again, and all that good stuff.
The other thing, let's talk about fees and cancellations, and we'll lump those right together. So what are your fees? They need to be clearly stated in your TAC, and because your client's actually not there to give you a check or cash, are you going to charge their credit card on file? Are you going to invoice them? Are you going to charge before? We recommend doing that because who knows what happens during the session. And so you have to have that clearly laid out, as well as your cancellation policy. Is it a 24-hour advance cancellation, a 12, a 36? So you want to make sure that's clearly laid out.
In addition to that, you want to make sure that you're clear about your emergency contact. So just like you would ask for an emergency contact with your regular consent process, you would do that with TAC as well. And specifically for the location that they're in. You want to have them list out their address of where they're located in case they were in crisis or an emergency, and also the number for the local police department. Because if you try and call 911 if they're in a crisis, that's going to dial in your area code and your county. So you want to make sure you have that ahead of time so that you're covered and on the same page in the case that an emergency arises.
Super important. And we also recommend having a statement about not recording sessions. This protects both you and your client.
Absolutely. And just like you would have them sign your consent, you want to make sure that both of you sign the TAC consent as well, so that you're officially covered. And we know that this is just a little snippet, and we encourage you guys to really cross-reference the tips that we've talked about here on your particular consent and your TAC consent specifically. And if you find that it's just too overwhelming and you don't want to worry about making sure that you're legally and ethically covered, we've done all that work for you, and we've got amazing opportunities and resources. So take advantage of those resources for our customizable attorney-approved private practice paperwork packages.
So thanks again. We hope we continue to inspire you from startup to mastery. Have a great day.